Troy? Troy? I miss you, Troy.
I got here faster than an armadillo.
I think Susan missed you more.
The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. I wonder who's kissing her now. The house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. The ceiling is white, but the shadows are black. A ghost in my heart says she'll never come back. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye.
Put the fire on, it's too hot for a fire.
The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by the echo of your last goodbye. The house is haunted by memories that refuse to die. I can't get away from a vision that brings intimate glimpses of intimate things. A voice in my heart like a tart singer sings. Oh, the house is haunted by the echo of your favorite song. The place is cluttered up with roses that have lived too long, much too long. But the shadows are
Good evening and welcome to the Haunt Hour with your host Dan Doble, Susie Fleesick, and Troy Crivolo. Join us tonight as we talk about all things haunting and Halloween during the Haunt Hour.
Welcome. Welcome to yet another Haunt Hour.
I mean, if Susie gets to have her little pearls hanging from her glasses, I mean, I gotta have. I mean, Dan, I think you're out on this one.
Like, I don't even know what to say to that.
Did you? I mean, you didn't get the memo. We're supposed to wear, because if we, because we're old now, and if we lose our glasses,
I was just gonna say the fact that we all wear glasses says a lot. So,
it says a lot about you.
What?
I am like Superman. When I take them off, I'm somebody completely different.
No, you're definitely somebody completely different. Right now.
oh man, I want to see this. Go ahead, take them off.
Yeah, take them off. Take them off.
Wow, he's gone.
He's gone. And there he's back.
See, somebody different.
Not as smooth of a transition as you hoped for.
Well, you can tell that we practice these things.
No.
I don't know where my glasses are. Oh, there they are.
No, see, he's completely
Oh,
blind.
look, he's
without them.
back.
Can't even
I
find
do
them.
see you. Yeah, it's a dad joke. You should get that with your pearls of wisdom. So, we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
back.
We had a week off, and
Yeah.
all because Troy wasn't here to put everything together.
Was that only a week? I feel
actually-
like it's been forever.
Everything was put together.
Before we even start this, I just want to and sincerely I want to say this, and I'm sure Susie will agree with me. Thank you for putting all this together. You do a lot of stuff on the back end, and
What?
oh, we just lost Ethan.
See, I'm already failing.
Anyway, you do a lot of stuff for us in this whole thing that we don't do, and I feel bad sometimes not telling you to your face and to the public that
You said it on Mike Ross's show like 5 times, so that's good. I play that about once a week to reaffirm myself.
I just want to let you know that you do a lot, and I want you to know that we're thankful for that. So
I appreciate it.
enough of that fucking sappy
That's so
bullshit now.
sweet. I'm glad you said it because I don't
right.
agree. No, I'm kidding. I don't know shit about anything, so obviously there wouldn't be anything.
Except
come to me.
you got an award from the Chamber of Haunters, correct?
I did, but
Yeah.
this one's not mine. This one's my
The members
husband's.
gonna know
But
what
mine
is
looks
it?
just like
What is
this.
the award for?
Founders Circle Award.
And what does that mean?
It means that I'm very, very
You're founding.
Yep.
Okay, Troy, what do you have?
There's like a circle that was woo! Grade A content. Chamber of
was
Hunters
great.
Circle of
I'm a
Excellence.
very important person. That's
Awesome.
all you
Well,
need to know.
I do not disagree with that because you pay me $30 a week to say that. So I do not disagree with you. You are awesome.
I don't though. That wasn't me. Did you forget?
Troy,
pays me that.
how was Texas? How was your drive? How was the Texas Hunters?
Guys, Buc-ee's.
So
We
you
went to
had a good
Buc-ee's.
time?
We went to Buc-ee's. Yes.
You know what we
had.
need?
Yes, we
We
had
need
a
a
great
show
time.
and tell of like a whole episode of just a show and tell of everything.
So
we've
I'll
gone.
just run Jake Farmer's video while I talk about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yes, it was. I would say it was twice as big as it was last year, vendor wise and even attendee wise. I vended there as the Texas Territours with my partner Jim,
Cool.
and we actually had a blast vending. We had a lot of people come by and talk to us. A lot of enthusiastic people about the tours. We were kind of afraid about the pricing, and everybody was like, $250 sounds awesome. Or well, it's $235 if you were at the show. They were like, no, that's a great deal, VIP and all that kind of stuff. So we're like, so as soon as a couple people said that, we were like, all right, let's go, pitch time, And so we had a lot of fun doing that. And a lot of our friends, some of our past guests, were there even. Alan Hops was there. Bill Bornder was there. This actual scene right here. Bill has a company called Mind Trap Creations, and he sold over a quarter of his items in his booth within 1 minute.
Wow.
He sold
To the
his
same
entire
person?
trip's worth. Like his entire trip was paid for in under a minute.
Wait, was that one person? Because how do you sell to more than one person in under a minute?
Well, he sold to Cutting Edge Haunted House, which is one of the haunts on our tours.
Ah,
So
there you go.
we get to
Okay.
see. But as soon as he came in and saw, like, he's been wanting to do a gingerbread house.
Uh-huh.
Like he was trying to figure out how to incorporate something with the gingerbread house. And he's like, you already built it. So he bought that. He bought cannons. He bought all kinds of stuff from Bill. And once again, Bill pretty much sold out everything within his booth by the end of the first day. So he is a very happy camper, and he's a very very unique haunter, you know, and a vendor. So everybody there had a great time. The haunt tour was awesome. We got to go to Dark Hour, and we got to go to Hatch and Craven Slaughterhouse. So 2 totally different types of haunts. And that was awesome. They also took us to Buc-ee's in between, so that was cool. And the costume ball was really good. They played right before it. They did a live show of Rocky Horror Picture Show. And last year they had a live band. This year they did Rocky Horror Picture Show. So they're trying different things, seeing what people like. All the seats were taken inside the ball, so it must have been good. Me and Jim Erickson and Christopher Presley were there as the old folks. So we were out and about the whole time doing stuff other than watching a movie. But yeah, it was a great show. It was very very energetic the whole time. Everybody was coming by. They were selling tickets, day passes, up until about an hour before the show closed. There was even a lady that showed up at 5:15 and was like, "Can I go in?" And he's like, "No, we closed like an hour ago."
Yeah.
So it was very successful, you know, for all the vendors that were there. There were some really cool classes. Melissa Winton did an awesome class. Anthony Powers did a make and take. Me and Christopher Presley did a home haunt videography class, which we figured out could easily have been a 2-hour class. We did not get through it all. But we had a lot of great people in, you know, asking a lot of questions and stuff like that. And so we had a good response from that. So all in all, it was a great weekend. We did drive down there in our RV, and we drove 37 hours basically straight without AC the whole way. Yeah. I had tried the AC before we left, but it was like in the 60s and 70s before we left, and it worked just fine. But that's because it was pulling in the cold air from outside.
Yep.
So it wasn't actually cooling, but I had no way to try 100-degree temperatures. So once we got into Wyoming, we realized that it was not working. I wouldn't have used it all that much anyways, because there is a lot of climbing when you get out of Oregon and through Utah and stuff. So only getting 8 miles to the gallon, I probably wouldn't have used it that much anyways. But through Amarillo to Dallas, it was literally hot air being pushed into the RV. All the windows were open, and we had to stop like at every single rest stop to get water. Because, you know, the fridge wasn't working either, because you're not supposed to run a propane fridge while you're driving the RV.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't even run that. So we got it fixed on the way home right before we left. Roland Pickens gave me a recharge kit. We got that all fixed up. And so we got home with air conditioning, and it was fine. And Roland actually was one of our guests as well. He's doing his new haunt, and he was directly across from me the whole time vending. And by the end of the show, there were literally thousands of cockroaches all over the hotel and the convention floor and in people's suitcases. And as people drove home, they dropped them off at different places. Jim dropped them off everywhere he stopped. Several other people who were driving dropped them off in different places because he had these little plastic cockroaches that he was throwing at everybody and letting everybody have. And by the time they swept up the floor, they had a pile of them. And they were in spots all over the hotel and everything. So that was fun. The convention probably didn't like it, but whatever. So, but you know, now we're trying to figure out how to have a cockroach fight next year. You know, we're gonna have people throwing cockroaches at each other and everything. But yeah, a lot of different vendors, a lot of different classes, a lot of different. There were lots of people there. So it was a great show. One of the things that Haunt Shirt said is that they need to take this show seriously now because a lot of the vendors brought really cool booths. Like they didn't just bring a table and put their stuff out. They actually, built things for it. Steve's Haunted Props built a whole facade in front of his booth. And it looked like a haunted house, and it had shelves on it and all kinds of things, and it looked really cool. So people, brought a lot more effort into their booths than years past. So it's definitely growing, and it was fun. Was
there any new vendors there that you haven't seen before?
I didn't really get to walk around that much because of that. There were vendors that hadn't been to Texas before. That I've seen at other shows, but a lot of the ones that I haven't seen are ones that I probably wouldn't buy. I didn't have a need to buy from them. They were things. It was probably the only thing that wasn't there was LED lighting and makeup, which is kind of ironic. There was not really there were some vendors that had some makeup stuff, but not like a makeup vendor and an effects makeup vendor. So that was because 916 Rust wasn't there this year. They were last year. But they really just do the Rust stuff. Where the costume, the costume effects and makeup wasn't there this year. It is, it's a further away, convention. You got to get down to Dallas to do it. But I think that some vendors will see, and vendors talk to each other, and they get the gist if they want to show up and stuff like that. They'll ask other vendors how they did and stuff like that, but we definitely, that show does need an LED and a makeup effects person for sure. Those are the two, industries that I didn't see there, but there were lots of things that you could do throughout your entire house and in your haunt, so there was enough stuff that you probably could outfit your entire home haunt with stuff from this show, and then decorate your inside. They had a lot of photo ops. They had an escape game right behind there. They had the axe throwing. You saw their, and they had food trucks out there and everything. So you didn't even have to leave to get food. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was a busy weekend, but it was a relaxing busy. Like I didn't feel, it wasn't like Trans World busy where you're like, oh my God, you're hardcore working the whole time. This was more of a relax, but they were selling a lot, but you got to talk, so that was pretty cool.
Is that an escape room?
Yeah, that was I think it was a 10-minute escape room or something like that. Complete with AC, of course.
Oh yeah.
It is Texas. But yeah, they've got they had the costume contest. That was good. It's going to need some tweaking. But that's one of the big things that I liked about the show was, and especially Michael Skalberg, was basically walking around with a program that he just had in his hand to begin with, and he's writing all these notes. And somebody would come up to him and say, "Hey, maybe what about this next year? What about this? Trying this?" And he would write it down. And they go and they have a meeting and they're like, well, okay, so these are all the ideas that people came up with. What do we want to tackle? What can we do? What obviously can't we do? Things like that. So he was basically looking for advice. He was asking people, is there something you would change? Is there something you want to see? Several of the vendors said they would like to see a Friday show. They want Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then he's like, well, that means the costs go up. So Are you willing to pay more to be able to sell for 3 days? So, each vendor has a different story about how they did. And, some were like, I did better on Sunday this year than I did Saturday last year. And, those type of things. So, but there was a large eclectic group of vendors there for sure. There were animatronic dinosaurs and all kinds of stuff. You can kind of see Steve's, facade back there in the background. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was a good show, and if I move down there in enough time next year, we're planning on moving before July, like moving the 1st of July. The Terror Tours will be back vending there again. So
fantastic! It's great news.
So, I think this weekend is Midsummer Scream. In LA.
That is.
Yes,
it's true. Yes, it is.
It came up super quick. It's usually one weekend after Texas, but this year it's 2 weekends. And I think they were going to try to work on that so that vendors could go to both, and just keep traveling across. Because this week in between is kind of a killer. You have to get a hotel room for like 2 weeks in between and stuff. So I know they were talking about trying to get them closer together so that vendors could just drive straight across to Long Beach after Texas. So that's kind of cool little thing. But yeah, so if you're in LA this weekend, or California this weekend, that's a pretty cool show too. Mini haunts, lots of horror and sci-fi stuff. So
that's good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Susie, how's the haunt coming?
Yeah. Very good.
Same old stuff. Still scary. Have you done anything with Jelly Ball? I haven't talked to you about that.
We did decide that we're going to just do like a small arena outside. We're going to kind of have a midway this year since we have the 2-minute escape room and the axe throwing. We're going to do Jelly Ball. There's going to be a lot more like going on in front. Actually, Troy and I had a little bit of a discussion / argument yesterday. Would you rather go to a haunt and have like scary stuff outside, or would you rather go to a haunt and have like a festival like atmosphere outside? Which would you rather?
I'll let Troy go and then I'll give you my opinion.
So after going to some Chicago haunts and some New England haunts that had similar type stuff, there was one in New England had a midway type of thing, and it was all fun stuff, but they also had like scary queue line actors or queue line actors that would make a point of coming up and boom, the silly scares, not the serious ones. But they had enough but then also those scary actors would pivot to funny. As well,
Right.
So
exactly. Yes.
My thing is that if you're going through a haunted house, and we can ask our guest this question too, this is a good question. Going to a haunted house complex type of idea where there would be a midway and stuff like that, I'm not expecting there to be scary stuff in there. I expect it to be Halloween related. I don't expect it to have Easter bunnies and flowers and shit.
Right.
But I'm going into the haunts to be scared. I'm going in the middle to kind of have fun and wait for the next haunt or wait for the next, because like the one we went to had 5 different entrances. And then all, so as you walk to each one, you walk through their midway games and things like that. Yeah. And I've been to ones where it's just scary stuff. It's you're walking through a graveyard, like Hell's Gate. Before you walk into the house, you're walking through this graveyard and they're scaring you, and they're trying to get you. But that's really the queue line. I mean, it's past the first queue line, but it's really
that's a whole different thing. That's not a midway.
Right. I mean, that's Zombie Army, which is
So what's your take, Dan?
So I personally don't like midway stuff. I like to go in and if I'm going to a haunted house, I want the full effect. When I get out of the car, right after I buy a ticket, I want to be in a different world doing whatever that haunt is doing. But that's me.
Yeah.
The problem that I have with midways is when it's dead, it's awful because there's nothing going on and you've got, people trying to sell food, game people just not doing any games. It's like a ghost town, and I feel it doesn't give a good vibe.
Yeah.
If it's not going on. You know what I mean?
I can appreciate that. Like what we have going on is we have like very scary kind of like music, but it's not like, it's just like sound effect music type, like
ambience,
and like an ambient like noise. And we did have axe throwing last year. Food trucks when we got lucky because they never come, and they just don't. And scare actors, of course. And we did get a review team that came last year, and they did a video. Their reviews were like YouTube videos, which was like hard to watch. And they hated our outside. Like they said in the video, they were like, we hate it. It just, you need more to do. Like there needs to be more. And while it hurt, I was like, ouch, they're right though. So we're putting in more. We now have the coffee truck, the coffee trailer.
Or that just make sure it's closed in. Like the thing that drives me bonkers is when I worked at a haunt that I won't name, that had all their things were spaced out very far apart. And you walk out and you're like, fuck, it's like fucking ghost town. Oh, look, there's something way over there.
Right.
Well, there's one person at it. Oh, nope, there isn't. Oh, look, there's a scary actor over there that's like, meandering, 50 yards away.
We don't
It's just
have that kind of space
as long
anyway,
as it's
so all
closed
of ours
in.
is gonna be right in the front. But
Mhm.
here's the other thing, like what you said, like, Dan, is what Troy likes. There you go. Troy likes for everybody to just be, like, scared. Oh,
Right. It's
there's
it's the
houses.
whole
Do you see the houses? We're in a neighborhood. It's
sure.
not like where this video is, there's a highway, there's a state highway.
Right.
There's people driving down in motorcycles. Like there isn't a feeling
Place
of,
where
oh
you
my
can
God, this is the scariest place. If we were in the middle of a field somewhere, sure.
Right.
But we're not. So I feel like we should have a little bit more of a party atmosphere. I don't know. I just see all that we have all that space there.
as long as it's themed. I mean, there's a lot of empty space there, but as long as it's themed and you can keep the theme running through the the area that you're trying to do it in.
And I also want to give people something to do since we don't have a queue line.
You know what
We
we should do? You know what we should do? We should ask Ethan.
That's a great idea. Let's do it. He's
Ethan,
been in my haunt.
Ethan, welcome to the
Yeah.
show.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're sitting here
Been here all
talking about
along.
Susie's queue.
We're trying to, I know, we're trying to figure shit out when we have an actual
And we
pro
have
on the
a
show.
professional
Yep.
haunted
So I
attraction
kind of,
creator.
in listening in, Dan, I kind of agree with you on it turns into a ghost town when there's just nobody there, and it almost gives this odd impression. But at the same time, when it's all contained, if it's well themed, it could give people something to do when they arrive. Also, alternative forms of revenue. So if you're having games, if you're having, I don't know if you're planning on doing food trucks or what, you're planning on doing with that, but, or your staffing issues rather, even to make sure you can do all that. But
Right.
having something going on. But also I will to one point say, just make sure that if you're going to put scare actors before the haunt, that you've sold them a ticket. Because what tends to happen, that actually happened. So when I first moved down here to Tennessee, one of the first things we did was we put a free scare zone walking into the show. So we were having people run out before buying a ticket. You don't want that.
No.
So we decided last year we forego it entirely. This year we're going to bring it back, but we're going to tone it down to just kind of a place to like fall themed, but it's pre-ticket booth, pre-security. So it's just as you're walking in, just little things like that, but nothing too crazy. Our
Like
thing is
type stuff.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One of the things too, and it really is haunt dependent, but for me, I prefer that visitors get here, get the experience that they're looking for, and then are able to leave. Just to prevent people hanging out. I always say, like, when people are just hanging out, if they're not spending money, there's a potential for trouble. And you obviously don't want to become anybody's babysitter. Obviously haunted houses, our target audiences sometimes are, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. They're great. Drop them off. But at the same time, you don't want to then have 30 or 40 people just kind of congregating and doing that type of thing. So that's kind of where I stand on it. Does that make sense?
And it's really hard. I've noticed it's really hard to sell something to somebody after they've gone through the haunt. It's usually selling a captive audience while they're there, ready with their wallet open, ready to spend money, than it is when they're walking out after the show, trying to sell them zombie paintball, or you're trying to sell them, something else.
Right.
1,000%. So last year here at Haunted Web, one of the first projects I did was I moved our ticket booth and rebuilt the ticket booths. I didn't really care for the way that the ticket flow was before. So we moved them almost theme park style. But as we queued them prior to the ticket booth, there's an audio track with new escape room posters. Buy your tickets now. Escape rooms. Buy one, $10, two, $20, three, $25. Try them now. Serial killer, explaining, hey, while they're having their money out, upgrade to VIP now. The other thing we did is when they were walking through the ticket booth, we had all of that laid out, and we asked our ticket attendants, would you like to upgrade? Would you like to add escape rooms? That really helped a lot. And then on top of that, we moved our concession stand directly at the exit of our ticket booth. So people literally had their wallet out I know I sound like Mr. Krabs right now.
No. It's a business.
I get
It's
it.
a business.
I get it. But they literally have their wallet out and they see the concession stand. They see the, the signs for all of the snacks and things like that. Controversial topic. We also do sell beer. And folks, our concession sales went through the roof last year just by making that simple adjustment. So
Now, do you do like T-shirts and stuff at the end?
So
And, like,
don't.
pictures?
We ironically don't do T-shirts here. That's something we've discussed at 100 Acres Manor. We did a full gift shop. We just haven't done that here. It's not. There's no reason. It's just one of those things that we just haven't gotten to. Our actors and staff have T-shirts, but we haven't gotten to the point of doing them for patrons. It just was one of those things that always got discussed, and then it was like, hey, we need to figure out our ticketing system before we open.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's prioritize this. But we did have a gentleman last year. It was kind of unique. I forget the company he worked for, or owned rather. But did you ever see at weddings where they have those? It's almost like a big screen that has a camera on it, and they select their frame, and and then they take the picture. He was charging them $10 for a digital copy, $15 for a hard copy, and they were selling like hotcakes at the exit. I could not believe it. I said,
Wow.
when he first came down, I always say try everything once because there was no risk to us. We weren't investing in the equipment. He was showing up, he was staffing it, and we were splitting the revenue.
Yeah.
So no risk to us.
That's a win. Yeah.
And we had the space for it, so it wasn't like it was any real effort on our part. And he was a really nice gentleman, and he just did an awesome job. But of course, it's something when you're doing something new like that, you just never really know.
Right.
And it turned to work out really well.
Yeah. Well, and it was no startup cost for you. Like
No.
so there was a lot less risk for you guys not to invest in that technology and then have it flop. You're like, crap. But this guy just comes in and does it, and then you could see, well, let's hire him next year, or let's do our own of that.
So let me ask you this, Ethan, real quick.
Sure. Go ahead.
Do you think that it was the sales pitch on that to the customers as they were walking out? Do you think the customers wanted it, saw it, and went to it? Because a lot of that depends on the person who's bringing them in.
I would agree with both. So he was a very good salesman. Don't get me wrong, but people seemed like when they came out, they seemed genuinely. When you literally walk out of the haunt, you ran into it. Like literally ran into it. Like you ran into it. You could not avoid it. You had to run into it and then turn around.
Yeah.
This all initially came about because back at 100 Acres, we used. Do you guys remember Photos app?
Yep.
Yeah.
I do.
So basically, you have one of your staff members take a picture of your group, scan a little thing, and you hand it to them. We were initially going to do something like that, and then we looked into. I was going to build 3 photo ops behind our new concession stand, and we were going to have a photographer there, and then as guests, almost like when you're boarding a cruise ship, you know how they like force you to take a picture,
Right.
and then sell it to them in the end. But the reason that we didn't do that is because we have 2 separate queues. So we have our queue for our asylum, for voodoo, and for our circus. And then we have a queue for Sector 23 and our new haunt this year, Rudolph's Revenge. So there are 2 separate queues. So how do you keep them in order at the end of the show to get there? It was like a logistical nightmare. So when this guy came up and was like, hey, do you want to do it? It just seemed like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So
it worked.
That's my thought on that.
Okay. Well, now that we jumped right
We jumped right in the middle.
So let's backtrack a little bit, and why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in Halloween? What was the spark that said I like trains and Legos?
Ironically, it was the trains at Roy's by the Tracks. I'm kidding.
Stop!
Tracks.
You have to throw that in.
So, all right. I mean, it's the typical haunter story. I mean, everybody likes Halloween. Most people do anyway. And I always kind of did the garage. I don't want to say garage haunt, but kind of, on trick or treat night, something very small when I was in grade school. and decorated the front lawn and things like that. Nothing, I never honestly thought that I'd get into this professionally. So like, I can't say that there's this big setup where it was like, I dreamed of this as a child and this all came to fruition. That just wasn't the case. But when I was in 8th grade, I started to volunteer at Phantoms in the Park. So that was like late 90s, early 2000s. Phantoms in the Park was it basically, if you're familiar with 100 Acres Manor, it literally is in the spot that 100 Acres is currently. So Phantoms in the Park was a haunted house, a charity haunted house there. And I ended up going down to volunteer, and I almost didn't get allowed to volunteer because I was too young. But they ended up allowing me to volunteer, and I had a great time. At the time, the haunt was only open, I don't know, maybe, beginning of October, only open 3-day weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or maybe it was just Friday. It was a very short season. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. And I had asked them, I said, can I come down during summer and help build? And of course, being an annoying young teenager, I nagged the living hell out of them. I mean, the phone nonstop. When are you going to the haunt? It's Christmas Eve. We're at dinner. We're not going to the haunt today. What about tomorrow? No. So, there's 6 inches of snow on the ground in Pittsburgh. Everyone's walking around dressed like Eskimos, and here's me wanting to go to the damn haunt. And this is back in the days where, we didn't start haunt build until, June when the weather broke in Pittsburgh. That's really when it started. But a couple of years went by with Phantoms in the Park. I ended up, that's actually how I met Ned. His name's actually not Ned. It's not. Fun fact, I call him Tombstone. I'll tell you why. The dumbass, love him to pieces. Sorry, Ned. He was playing hide and seek, and he was running, and the graveyard was still up. And we were down the haunted house. And
how long ago was this?
Oh, God, this was probably 2001, 2002. Okay. And you hear, hey, Matt, watch out for that. Tombstone. Boom. Down he went. He left. There wasn't no snow on the ground, and he left an angel on the ground. It was impressive. But so Matt ended up, that's how we met, me and Ned. That's how we met years ago. And long story short, summer 2003, I was getting ready to go to college full-time college student. I was also working at all things at Sunglass Hut. Hey, listen, I loved Sunglass Hut. I sold them Prada sunglasses. If I told you I worked at American Eagle prior to that, would you believe me?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
I ended up 2004 came and Phantoms in the Park lost their lease. Ted put a bid on the property, and I end up a lot of the Phantoms in the Park staff and Ted had known each other in the past. Ted was involved with Phantoms in the Park, and then there was Terrors by the Lake. There was this whole wish-wash of things that were going on years ago prior. But anyways, some of them weren't, they didn't want to work with 100 Acres and this, that, and the other. So really it just ended up being like me and 2 or 3 other guys. Well, I shouldn't say that. There's a couple of us that kind of went and met with Ted and said, we're interested in, coming on board. And immediately me and Ted just clicked. And I said, run your actors, do set design. Let's run this show. Let's get it done. And there's other people involved. Bill, this gentleman named Bill, from the charities that were all kind of behind the scenes on the charity side. But for the haunt side, that was kind of my deal. And 100 Acres, it just grew. We really, you never would have thought, starting a haunt in 2004 and then looking at the way that haunt's grown, especially till today, just impressive. And it grew into a mega haunt, and it was a really cool experience. So every single year we were all out there, trying to outdo ourselves, whether it just be on smaller things or even, doing like Travel Channel, like you're showing right now. That was back in 2013. But even to this day, they're still getting major awards and pushing forward. And now with them doing all their other ventures, they're really doing well. I'm super proud of them. I actually just stopped and saw Ted the other day down at Nethercraft. We were talking for a bit and stopped down to 100 Acres and saw everybody and said hi. So it was pretty cool to see everybody, and while I was back in Pittsburgh. So that's kind of how it came to be. As far as Travel Channel goes, that was actually a really interesting story because I'd always wanted to do a Travel Channel. And I had asked them probably 2008, 2009. I'd sent email after email, never heard anything back. Like literally, it was like radio silence. So I just stopped. I was like, well, all right. I'll take that. I'll take the defeat. This is never going to happen. I'll give up that dream. And I did. And I was laying in bed and I got a phone call from California. And I answered and it was like, hey, this is so-and-so from Travel Channel. We'd be interested in filming your haunt. And I went, ha, 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 click. Well, I thought it was my friends joking with me. I legitimately thought it was my friends joking with me. So didn't hear anything again. So I'm like, all right, forget it. 2 weeks later, Ted emails me and goes, did you hang up on the Travel Channel? So I had to call them back. I called them back and they actually ended up coming out and filming. What was really interesting, though, about the Travel Channel episode is they actually filmed opening night.
Oh, my God, that's the worst.
Oh, my God. It was just like, the poor guy, I had to tell him, I said, I have a haunt to operate because you have to do your segments, interviews and stuff. And I said, I would love to sit down and do this right now, but like I literally have to open the haunt right now. Like I have, there's 150 staff members here. We can't just be like, and it's opening night. So, everybody knows that opening night, there's always some hitch in the get along, no matter how much you prepare, no matter what you do, there always tends to be something that happens. So but we made it through. I could tell you after we got done filming, I had to film the rest of my segments after the haunt closed, and the rest of the crew, we have a local pub that we all go to because they have served food and they have really great drinks and everything. And it's right up the street from the haunted house. So everybody kind of went up to the local pub. It's called Doritos. Don Rich Don, not like the chip. And anyway, I obviously had to film some stuff. By the time I got there, I was so exhausted because I basically hadn't slept. Nor like there was Spencer and Trixie, and there's a bunch of us that had just been at the haunt just nonstop prior to Travel Channel. Right. And anyway, I get up to the bar, and they hand me a beer, and I fell asleep on the counter. Drank. I'm like, nothing. Sleep now. So, but that's kind of how I got into this, and when I decided to part ways with 100 Acres, like I said, we're on very good terms. I ended up going up to Michigan for a year, and I worked up at the haunt. That was a really good time. That was 2018. Came back from the haunt, and then I worked with Susie for a little bit to do her escape rooms. And then I've been with Haunted Web ever since. So 2019 was my first season here. We have done a tremendous amount of work to this haunt since I've been here. It was a good show before I got here. It really was. But we've just done so much over the past couple years. It's just constantly improving. Me and Jeremy are always working together to just bring something new to the table. We don't have a ginormous budget like Universal budget, but we have a decent budget. But we definitely make use of what we have. I mean, all of our facades were redone. I rebuilt an asylum for them. We built 3 escape rooms. So that facade right there was the first project I did when I got here. That's in our voodoo section right there that I built in 2020, maybe. So
that is
okay. So here we go.
Badass facade.
So let's talk about Ethan's passions. What do you? I know you love haunting.
Long walks on the beach and margaritas.
In the haunt world, it's not long walks on the beach, I'm sure. Is it managing? Is it set design? Is it Q line acting? What is it that is like your favorite in the haunted attraction business? Like, what do you love to teach? What do you love to do? I mean, I feel like it's set design, but we'll get to that in a second. But what is it? What does it really get you, like? What is it that keeps you doing what you do?
I have to say, I love actors and stuff. They're so good at what they do. I can see that, a really good actor or, give actors pointers. I can't act worth crap. I am terrible at it. I can't. I'm telling you, I'm like an elephant in high heels trying to act. It's just not a good look. But as far as I love doing set design, just being creative. I really enjoy the entire creative process. And at each haunt that I've been at, it's kind of different. I was talking to Troy last night and I mentioned it. When you have a haunt that has, I'm just throwing numbers out there. I'm not giving anybody's budgets away. I'm just throwing random numbers out there. If you have a haunt that has $1 million budget, you can design totally different than a haunt that has a $5,000 budget, or a haunt that has a $500 budget, or a $60,000 or $100,000 budget, or whatever it is. So I've had these challenges in doing different projects along the way that have really, I think, made me a better artist and better set designer, because it's not always, and I'm not knocking anybody on this, so I hope nobody takes it that way, but I always say, like, anybody can go out and buy a whole bunch of Unit 70 props. They're awesome. They're fantastic. I'm not, or like, I mean, they're awesome. Gore, fantastic. These are great products. But it really takes something special to be able to create the environment those props go in, and really sell the scene. And I really enjoy bringing it all together with not only just the physical set itself, but the audio, lighting, just the costuming, the scents, touch. I know 2020 with COVID and things, we had to remove a lot of stuff, pull that back. But in the past, I really enjoy when I'm doing set designs that there's something for you to traverse. So you have to maneuver through the scene, even if it's not something physically touching you, just causing people to maneuver and physically interact with the environment, if that makes sense. I think it puts people more into the scene.
More immersive.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I also really enjoy things that are like when I use the term hyper detailed, like overly packed. So a lot of folks have joked and said I'm like borders, and I accept that badge with honor, because I do put a ton of crap in my scenes, but there's a reason for it. And the reason I say is because if it wasn't there, you'd notice.
You're right.
You'd notice.
Because like going through like 100 Acres Manor, and it's so weird because I mean, there's obviously still scenes in the haunt that you've done from Mayhem. And last year, Troy and I went through before opening because he inspected, and it was cool to go in there. There was no actors, and we were going through, and Tyler took us through, and we were just looking at everything, and we left and we went home, and I couldn't remember one thing about it. And I think it's because there was so much.
Right.
I think that's not a bad thing. It's not, and also I'm not very detail oriented when it comes to like my memory, but like, it's so weird because I don't really remember a whole lot because there was so much to look at. I was like,
so many layers.
And that's your haunt. And I know that because I know how you design things. And it's so funny because the suitcases just always remind me of you. That's all. Let me get a suitcase.
I love a good suitcase. I'm telling you.
I know.
Listen, they fit all corners. Suitcases are like my go-to prop. If I go to the airport, I will buy every damn suitcase.
I do that now at the Goodwill outlet. We bought like 17 the last time we were there.
We just went through Dark Hour, and he has a room in there where you literally walk under an archway of suitcases, and the whole room is just filled with suitcases. And he's like,
I'm not the only one that loves suitcases, okay?
No. He's like, each one of these was like $1. Why wouldn't I buy them? I filled an entire room.
You don't know what's in them. You
and
can put them anywhere.
Right.
You can put them anywhere.
Right. Yep. They're awesome space fillers.
I'll tell you, the thing is, though, is like if I'm, just to round that out, is if I'm doing design, I think that if you go into a room, let's just say it's a bed, like a manor bedroom scene. Most people would just put a bed, a nightstand, a lamp. The end. Actor.
Yep.
But like, let's put a comforter on there, then an Afghan that's like kind of thrown on the bed. Then let's put a teddy bear there. Let's put a book that's open with eyeglasses on the nightstand. Let's put a cup of coffee with lip marks on the rim. Let's put a ashtray with some cigarettes and a half-filled whiskey glass there. Let's add all those extra elements that make it look, I'd use the term lived in.
Yeah.
So it's not like a set, rather than it's like, wow, this feels like somebody actually, like the inhabitants of the manor have been interacting with this set, and that's kind of my thought on that.
Yeah. I've always been a huge thing about why am I in this haunt? Why am I in this room? make me understand it without telling me and without forcing it on me. Just have me, the immersive part about haunted houses is, I think, really, really, coming into, focus now. Whereas before, like me and you were talking about last night, was that, you have those haunts where it's 5 themes and 5 different, and you're walking through one building.
5 different rooms, 5 different transitions. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, every state has one of those, but there's all these other haunts that are like, no, this is our theme. And the entire haunt is it. And it tells you, like Dan said, as soon as I buy my ticket, I want to not realize that I just bought a ticket to a show. I want to be in this fully and immersed in it while I'm here.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But what's interesting though is me and Troy were he was just saying, we were talking about this last night. So 100 Acres Manor, the haunt, and Haunted Web, all 3 haunts are inline attractions, as I would call them. So with the exception of Haunted Web, kind of, because Haunted Web, you have you go through Asylum, Voodoo, and the Yard, which is a carnival scrapyard, and then or you can do Sector 23, and which is new this year is Rudolph's Revenge. So you choose which ones you want to go through first and then after. But at the haunt, it was consecutive. Same thing with 100 Acres Manor. I personally like that, and there's a reason for it. Now, when I don't just do a small transition. I will do a giant facade. Like you walk out, and it's not like, okay, I'm all of a sudden in another haunt. Like you walk out, and you are in a 40 by 40 room with 16-foot facades. Like it's like we are in a different spot. But it doesn't make people. I hate waiting in line.
Yeah,
I hate waiting in line. So if you have to then wait in line an hour and a half to go through 3 haunts, then come out and wait an hour and a half again to go through. It's just like, to me,
I want something to look at while I'm doing it. I want to be odd.
But it does take you out of the immersive part of it, though, too.
I think it does. And then on top of it, like I said, especially at 100 Acres Manor and here specifically, it wasn't so much a problem in Grand Rapids, but we don't have a parking issue. But when you're that busy, you don't want people hanging around, and forcing people to wait in an additional hour and a half line forces people to stay for another hour and a half. I'm not trying to rush people out the door. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's like, I need the parking space.
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
I mean, that's just a business fact. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that you and I kind of talked about last night was like, what would be like a piece of advice that you would give somebody who wants to get into haunting like you do? I mean, what, I know that's kind of a broad question, but let's say somebody had been doing a little haunt, a little charity haunt, something like that, and wanted to get, bigger. What are like some words of wisdom you've learned over the last, bunch of years about something, transitioning from smaller to bigger?
I always say, the thing is I got really lucky. I just got really lucky when I was 18 years old and I fell into, meeting Ted. I got very, very lucky. And that was it was at the time, it was like a 12,000 a year person haunt, very small. But Ted and the charities that we represented were willing to invest big money into the show year after year after year after year. Because of those investments, it allowed, and then me being able to come on as, full time and doing everything like that. That's what allowed me to do that. It was a very unique situation. But one of the things is I would definitely recommend is grow at your own pace. Don't grow at someone else's pace. One of the things that my dad always taught me, he said, don't worry about what they're doing over there. Because as long as you're worried about what they're doing over there, you ain't worried about what the hell you're doing over here.
Right.
So grow at your own pace. Don't try to compare yourself to somebody else. Well, this person's doing this much. Well, this person's doing this much. So you don't have to catch up to everybody. There's always going to be somebody you're chasing after. Just chase after yourself. Do what's best for you, and don't go in debt. Don't put yourself in debt to the point where you're stressed out and going, how am I gonna do this? There's one thing to love Halloween, and then there's another to treat it as a business and understand that this is I mean, it just depends what side of the coin you're coming from. For me, this is my job. This is what I do for a living. There's no other source of income. So I have to make sure that everything I do is, not only great for the show and for, I do love Halloween. But
Do you though?
doing it to,
Do you though?
sometimes when it's not trying to kill me.
Well, that's like what I've I've seen people post on on Facebook a lot. I want to go for my garage and I want to build a pro hunt and I want to go pro, and they're like, what should I do? And I'm like, first of all, I'm laughing at you because you're literally asking thousands of people on Facebook what to do, and you're going to get 9,000 answers. And none of them are going to work.
No.
Yeah. What is that? What is the old saying? If you run out of time, throw money at it. If you run out of money, throw time at it. If you run out of both, you're fucked.
In all honesty, it really comes down to the grind. And I've known you, Ethan, for what, 10 years now?
Yeah.
You're always at the haunt.
Yeah.
You're always working on something Halloween related, haunt related. If you want to be Ethan, you've got to put in the time. I mean, it is a 100% invested thing. Yeah. It is a passion for you, and not everybody has that passion, and everybody sees the dollar signs. It really comes down to the grind. It really comes down to putting that time in and waiting for it to pay off.
Because it's definitely, like you just said, a lot of folks, and I'm just, not pointing fingers, just in general, but I see that maybe there's a lot of things that are unseen behind the scenes by folks that are newer. And it's not that they're wrong. It's not that they're, it's nothing against. It's just they haven't seen it. But it's like opening a haunt, for example, or doing things in the haunt. You're not just looking at buying costumes and makeup or wood. I mean, there's so much more to it. You have a lease, you have insurance, you have audio equipment, you have cables, you have lighting, you have fog fluid. I mean, hell, fog fluid. If you're running a haunt, you have to buy probably. I mean, Pam was running 100 gallons of fog fluid a year. We're running probably 40. Here, I mean, how was that? That's just fog fluid. Mm-hmm. So, or
you get into marketing, you get into attorneys, you get like all of that stuff. It's consuming.
It's and luckily, Jeremy and Crystal work their butt off too, especially at this show. I mean, they just kill it. Crystal and Jeremy are always on something with making sure they're doing some progression for the show. It's really impressive, and I think we work pretty well together. I've been here for 3 years, and it's been pretty awesome. There's no place that I've worked that I've been like, oh my God, I hate it. 100 Acres Manor is like, I came from 100 Acres Manor. That was like my start, and like the haunt, I really enjoyed it, but I was only there for like 9 months. As soon as we got the show open, that's when I came here. So, but there is a lot to it. But as long as you're moving at your own pace and just understand that it's not just throwing up some decorations or, I always say like 90% of my job is carpentry.
Right.
Like it's not putting up Halloween decorations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You never put up Halloween decorations. That's what people don't understand. That's never part of it, ever.
You're trying to make it look like it's not a Halloween decoration.
Do you think, like, circling back to what we said before and about passion and et cetera, and I know you and I have had conversations like this before, do you think that there are Halloween, how want to say this, there's entrepreneurial Halloween people who are basically, I don't want to say opportunist because I'm putting myself in that category and I don't like that word, but do you think there are people that run this as a business over it being a passion, and then people that run it as a passion, and do you feel like one is better than the other? Meaning, like, have more of a business brain, or have more of a, I love it, I will put my house up against my haunt because I love it so much, I'm willing to risk everything.
I think to be successful in everything, there's some level of risk that you have to associate, but you don't want to put yourself in a position where it's like, if you're ultra business, I don't think you can be very good at a haunted house because you're
Agreed.
If you're
Agreed,
ultra,
100%.
It looks super sterile.
It takes away the creativity part of it. Yeah.
It just feels like a Lego set. very, 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 very sterile.
Mhm.
And I don't particularly care for that. So, but I do think that there is a huge need for the business side as well to ensure, because you are dealing with real money, and
Yep.
and these events.
There's also a huge need for people like you, Ethan.
Well, yeah, because what I was,
the haunt industry doesn't have enough of the people like you that work
right.
with no sleep for years on end to make attractions what they are. I mean,
But see-
I can count on one hand how many people I know that can do that. You know what I mean? And there needs to be more people that want to do that. And I think there's enough people out there with money that want to invest in the haunted attraction industry, but I don't think there's enough. I don't think they see the amount of talent that artists have.
That's going back to like buying all the Unit 70 props and throwing them in a scene.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. Like people don't see. Like Ethan is a unicorn.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Troy.
No. I bow.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
That's
this is
true.
a guy that understands business,
Yeah.
is super creative, and has a wicked talent. Like
I
you put
appreciate
all that together, that's not somebody you can't find that. I mean,
No.
you find super creative people, but they suck at business.
Yeah.
You know what
Right.
I mean? Or you find
it's like you
really
have to
good
hire
business people
somebody.
that have no creative ability. You
Right.
have to. These people have to find people like Ethan to make a haunted attraction as successful as it is.
Which segues into my next question. Ethan, would you ever own your own haunt since you are this jack of all trades?
I actually have no desire to ever own a haunted house
I hear that a lot from
I just
people.
had to ask.
Yeah.
at all, ever.
Yeah, because you know so much about it. Is that the answer? Because it's just so much?
There is a huge risk at owning a haunted house. Huge payoff. There's always a huge risk. I mean, somebody trips and breaks their ankle in your haunt. I mean,
Yep.
I've seen so many frivolous things that were like, most of the time it was just frivolous. Not on our end. We've covered all of our bases. It's perfectly fine. And that's not even at Haunted Web. It's just in general. I've seen it at haunts here and there and everywhere. And it's just like, I'm almost 40. I don't need any gray hairs yet.
Right.
They're coming. They're coming. I'm telling you.
You do need, however, a pearl necklace.
Oh, there they are. Those freaking glasses.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, kind of going back to, owning and being creative and being an owner is, those people who say, I want to go from a garage to a pro haunt. I always tell them, are you okay with this now becoming your work? Because now you're not going to work on your haunt in the garage. You're now going to work.
Yes.
Most people don't like saying, I'm going to work today. Most people are not excited about that.
I actually have a really good example of that. So one of my first jobs was at Kennywood Amusement Park. It's in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. Kennywood was my favorite place to go as a kid. Who the hell doesn't like to go to the amusement park, right? And my first job was at Kennywood. And with the badge, you got free admission to Kennywood, Idlewild, all their sister parks, Sandcastle, Lake Compounds, and yada, yada, yada. Well, I would work all day, get there at 8 in the morning and be there until 11 at night. And I work a couple days a week. I was, whatever the limited minor hours where I was a minor at the time, I was 15, 14, 15. So, I could only work for so long. Anyway, people would be like, do you want to go to Kennywood on your day off? Hell no, that's the last place I want to go. And that's why when people ask me, they're like, it'll be a day where I have some time away from the haunt. And they're like, let's go down to the haunt. And I'm like, no.
And, like we were talking about last night, you go there because that's your job. Where I can go in my front yard and go, I'm not feeling it this year. And nothing happens. Nothing. I go to work the next day. I make my money. My family eats. You can't do that. So that's where if you're thinking about going from your home to a pro, you have to understand that now that is like you said, it's a huge risk. It's part of your livelihood. And are you okay with kind of dropping the creativity part of it? Because you do have to now become a business person and you have to do all that stuff or hire somebody to do that while you be creative or vice versa.
Ethan could quit.
He could, but
He
then he
could
has to go
quit.
get a job. He has to go back to American Eagle Outfitters, okay?
Well, he'd be very different.
I
But
don't
as
we
an
pull out my
owner-
double polos and start popping collars.
Oh man. But that's like, like you're saying, like somebody that wants to go from the garage haunt to
Yeah.
a pro haunt. The other risk is having somebody like Ethan, who is a unicorn, so you're never going to find anybody like him. But having somebody who does the things or is supposed to do the things that Ethan does quit on you.
Yeah.
And then you got to do it all. You know what I mean? Like if I had an Ethan and he quit on me, I wouldn't be able to run my haunt because obviously you do a lot there. You know?
The thing is though, is that I would never, first off, I don't have any plans on, leaving my show anytime soon. But also if I were to ever leave a show, I would not leave prior to the show being done or having that discussion. So I left 100 Acres Manor, for example, in July, but there was a full discussion with Ted. And I said, look, I'm willing to stay to finish out the season, but if you're okay, I'm going to head out. So I had that discussion.
Yeah.
I didn't leave anybody high and dry.
Right.
And so I wouldn't just up and leave somebody like that. That's just not something I would do. I will tell you, I mean, like right now it's crunch time. We're all very stressed. Every single year, I don't know if this goes the same for you guys, but I feel like, it's like, we're going to be done in April.
It's right before you open.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's August next week. And I'm like, just trying to, just get everything done. We still have a lot on our plate here that I'd like to get done before the season opens. And, at the end of the day, even prior to going to Transworld, for example, when I had to build Ned's booth and get all that stuff done, somebody said to me, I don't know who the hell it was, but they said, well, what do you do if you don't get it done? I said, why are you asking me that? And they're like, well, what if you don't get it done? I was like, why are you asking me like that? Like I have a freaking option. I don't have an option to not get it done. There is no not get it done option here. Like, where are you seeing this not get it done option? Like, I just don't understand that. It's wacky.
Yeah. Agreed.
So, Alex has a good question.
Alex has lots of good questions.
He does. But how would you go about, like if you were an owner, what are qualities in somebody that you would look for? Basically qualities of you, but how would you tell somebody to go about finding somebody like you to help them with their haunt?
It's hard saying. I mean, like I know, like Katie, Katie,
Yep.
Katie Furdak, extremely talented young lady. Then there's Alex and Bryce and all them. There's Bailey, and they're all extremely talented folks. I guess it's all in who you just want to work with. Everybody kind of works differently. But we all can work symbiotically as well, as Susie. So I mean, it just depends on who you're really looking for or what you're trying to get accomplished, and if you're going to want to bring in somebody full time, or if you're going to want to bring in somebody part time. So like I don't work part time, so I wouldn't. Minus with Susie, because I've known Susie forever, and Susie lives close to my hometown, so it was only an hour and a half drive for me, Susie.
About an hour, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not bad. But normally I wouldn't do. I shouldn't say I would never, but like I normally try to do like full-time jobs.
Right.
I find it very stressful to like have to like constantly try to find work, and if I have time, and the availability, I would definitely do side work. I'm not saying never to that. It's just something that.
I guess to answer your question on a business owner or a haunt owner's perspective, I would say ask questions and talk to people. I mean, shows like Transworld, those shows are where I would go as a haunt owner to find people like Ethan. Watching this show, knowing who Ethan is. Now I'm going to go out and contact Ethan and say, hey, Ethan, I know you're full time. Who do you know? And then start networking that way. That's how I would do it. I mean,
ask like a vendor, who has a really cool booth.
There's a lot of talent out there.
Yeah.
These people, find the people that you know that you can trust and respect,
Right.
and ask them those questions, and they will be able to give you answers. I mean, I'm sure Ethan could probably rattle off 5 or 6 people right now that would be good enough. They would take a full-time or a part-time gig.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I have a great idea for a reality show. I think it should be the Ethan show where he goes to different haunts and he spends a week there. No, I'm serious. You could make this would be amazing because there used
Like
to be a
Hell's
show
Kitchen.
that they did for hair, and this Tabitha would come in and she was a real bitch. She was like a
This already fits my role.
come in, and she would spend a week at a hair salon and she would completely revamp it. She would fix the attitudes of the hairdressers, revamp the whole place. But you go in and you're like, okay, here's what Crawford School of Terror needs. First of all,
and Susie's like, fuck that shit. I'm not changing anything.
No.
And it cuts to commercial. It comes back and Ethan's slapping the shit out of her.
No, Ethan and Micah head to head.
Yes, yeah.
It'll be called Haunt Rescue.
Micah's my buddy. I love
Seriously.
There's a lot of haunts that could be rescued too. Haunt rescue. I think we should push that.
It's a great idea.
Alex has yet another question because he's awesome. What are some perks and what would you tell an owner to be able to keep you? What are some things other than giving you a paycheck every couple of weeks, and what are some things that make you excited to be at Haunted Web?
At any haunt, or on any project, just being able to have everything available in a timely fashion. I have I build either all in on one. I have a really hard time switching gears on projects, so I tend to have all here just to finish this and then move on to the next. And when I start flip-flopping, I get
you lose your steam and your momentum.
And then I have a hard time focusing. And if I have a hard time focusing, I tend to lose time, which then I get disappointed in myself. So it's just a matter of just having the things that are needed, or and then on a haunt owner, with with any haunt that I've ever worked with, just communication is everything on both sides. Just open communication and just saying, hey, look, this is what it is, or the good, bad, and the ugly. If you're working with a haunt, these people need to be, or in my opinion, haunt specifically, not so much other jobs, but in the creative field, you have to be friends with the people you're working with.
I was just going to say, you're like family to Jeremy and Crystal. I feel like you guys have really.
Yeah, I was at their wedding in April. I mean, a very small family wedding, in Navarre Beach, Florida. So being very close, and, of course, family fight. Same thing I fought with Ted. Me and Doug even had our moments, but because sure as hell I'm not perfect, and I don't claim to be. But it's just having that understanding of that communication. I think that's it.
What would you, if you were given the option, would you take money or supplies? Obviously you have your pay, but if an owner said, here's a bunch of money, go buy the things you need for the haunt, do whatever, or would you rather have a nice big wood shop with all the wood you ever need and that stuff just keeps flowing in?
No, hand me a credit card and go away.
Okay.
Come back in October. Your stuff will be open.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, do you want me to be honest?
Well, no. Because the owner's going to buy you 2x4s, and you need 2x3s.
Yeah,
so there's that issue too. He might not know what you need.
Then there's the other thing too, where it's I forgot I needed 6 cans of spray paint, and I told you 4, and he or she or XYZ was at the store and already on their way back, and they have 10,000 things to do that day, and then it's crap, I'm out of this now, I need to wait to get this, and then it's no one's fault, it's just how it is. People get busy. So, for me, and I think, in my opinion, you can write everything down, you can budget everything, you can plan everything out, but inevitably you're going to be 1 2x4 over, or it's not going to be there.
Yep.
And it's going to be that 1 2x4 that needs to be in before you can paint, and it holds up the entire shebang way too long. It's very, when I get to points like that, as you can't tell, it's getting my blood pressure up. It's like a point of contention for me.
Yes.
It's 1 2x4
until we have the Star Trek beam me up, until we have that from the haunts to Home Depot, Harbor Freight, and Lowe's.
Yep.
We have to figure out something, because I mean, how many times do we drive to those places every day, especially in August and September? It's like 3 or 4 times a day, and you're like, "Can I just beam me there?" I just said.
I mean, the one thing that always ends up failing or going missing for me is the damn staple gun.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Every time, it either breaks or goes missing, and then I
the
can't.
box of screws.
Oh yes.
Fucking run out of boxes.
I literally have started just buying like 5 boxes of screws. I have one on my patio. I've got one. I've got one on this side of the garage, that side of the garage, in my tool bag, and then one in the front yard somewhere, just in case.
God bless you. I'm telling you, I'm right there with you. Like if I running out of anything, it's just. But we're very resourceful here at Haunted Web. What I will tell you is something that's really cool, is that Jeremy has never purchased. Well, I shouldn't say has barely purchased 2x4s since I've been here, but we always have a ton of them. And you're probably wondering how. Jeremy also owns a construction company, and they have a whole bunch of drops. They're called drops. So basically, they're stuff that is literally being thrown away. Now it has probably 15 nails in it,
right?
But go
Who's pulling the nails out?
Right. Yep.
Good to go. The other thing too that we get a ton of is down here in Tennessee. There's a crap ton of they're called dog ear fence pickets. Familiar?
Oh yeah.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
And just a ridiculous amount of them for free. And like for foam and stuff, he was able to go to a door company. They made like those steel doors.
Yeah.
Like the security doors. Well, they put foam sheets inside of them. They're not 4x8. Most of them are 3x7 or whatever they are. But anyways, stacks of foam, taller than me. I'm 6'2", for like $15 a stack.
Wow.
So, so when I did our Voodoo Graveyard, for example, I mean, I wish I had pictures of it. The Voodoo Graveyard looks absolutely stunning. You would never know this, but all of the framing was done with these recycled 2x4s. And then as opposed to buying the plywood, you need something to back the foam. You can't have raw foam. Even though I hard coat it, you need something to back it. People go right the hell through it.
Right.
So I just took fence pickets and ran it. Nobody would ever know. It's like that TikTok.
Who would know?
Nobody's gonna know.
Nobody's gonna know.
But I remember when we did the escape room and you sent Troy for I think we needed 13 sheets of pink foam, and you were like, get 25. And Troy's like, what?
Yeah.
Yep.
So literally Troy's like, I don't know why you need so much, but I get it now, because you're just like, I just want to make sure I have enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can always take it back.
You can always take it back, but and it comes to the point where Troy and Susie were going out and getting the materials. So what I don't want to do is then inevitably when you run out of materials, it's 10 o'clock at night and everything's closed.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or it's just, or the store is now out, and it's like you were just at the store and they had 10 of them, and then somebody came in and bought the last 10. Right. They were walking out the door as you're walking in.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like I've been here before, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This definitely is an emotional conversation for me at all.
The heat has nothing to do with it.
Nothing. My hair looks like I'm electrocuted over here. It's a soothing, it's a balmy 110 degrees in here right now.
Well, and that's if you want to share in his and this is sort of a segue to the ending, but also funny, is that if you want to share in his pain, you can probably go on to his TikTok and understand that it's hot.
Ethan, man.
That's my slim fitting dress.
Yep. I have to say, I am addicted to Ethan's TikTok.
Yes. Oh yes.
Every
Whenever it comes
one.
up, I'm like, stop.
Yeah. Yep. Stop. Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
God. You wonder what my parents think. My dad's like, look at this asshole.
That's what we say.
My mom finally saw some of my TikToks, and she was like, I know where your daughter gets it from, and I'm like, don't look at her TikToks, and she's only 9, and she's like, she has TikToks, and I'm like, bye.
Okay, bye.
I'm like, I watch them, don't worry. But yes.
Yep.
So Susie, do you have anything else for our esteemed guest?
Absolutely not. Anything else I have to say has to be said off air. Thank you.
Hey, Susie, they do this really weird thing where they pour the drinks in a small cup.
This is an off-air conversation.
We're gonna have a chat after the chat.
Yep.
So let's see. We will go through the socials because that while he's building a haunted house in the heat, he does TikToks and and films a lot of the stuff that he does, like being in a haunt bathroom and looking at the why are they like this? Why are they clean? Why are they not clean? So you can follow along on his TikTok here. He has a good amount of followers. I would like to see a little more. Let's pump that up a little bit. He does have an Instagram, but it has not really been updated since.
Yeah, I really don't use it.
Yeah, that's like 100 Acre Manor. But I mean, here's an esteemed picture of him teaching a class.
Yes,
Teaching.
Ethan in a suit and ties, definitely.
Suit and tie. This is serious, Ethan. This is not joking, Ethan. Serious.
I don't know about that.
No, Ethan, tell everybody why you wear the jacket, though.
Yeah, this is a good story.
So honestly, I didn't want to wear the damn jacket. My mother, I had happened to, so I was probably 23, 24. For whatever reason, I had went and stopped at my mom's before I was leaving for Transworld. And she put the jacket in my suitcase without telling me. She bought it for me. And, I wasn't even living at home. I just happened to stop. And she put it in there. And when I opened my suitcase up, she was like, just wear the damn thing. I'm like, I'm not wearing this freaking jacket. This is the dumbest thing. I'm going to look like an idiot. I was like, everyone else is wearing a black t-shirt. I'm going to feel like a fish out of water. Yep. And I put it on and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to wear the damn thing. And I did. And it just kind of became a thing that stuck.
Yep.
It's a good look. It's a good look.
It was definitely not something that was like thoroughly thought out on my part by any means. It just kind of fell into existence.
See, he cleans up nice.
Oh, goodness. The wedding. So, but yeah, that's the story behind the jacket.
So
yeah.
Professional. Makes him look legit. Makes him look legit. He's not, but it makes him look like it.
That's right.
Jacket?
Ethan knows how to play the part.
Ethan, have you worn the same exact jacket or is it a different jacket?
No, it's been different. Well, it's been different because
now it's a thing.
I've lost almost 100 pounds since last year. So, I haven't worn the same ones. As a matter of fact, this year was the first Transworld I didn't wear a jacket because I went the day of to leave for Transworld to put on my jacket. And it was like, it went around me. I'm like, ruh-roh.
Wow.
And I had Ned coming down here. We had to disassemble the booth, load it into a trailer, drive all the way out to St. Louis, which is only a 4-hour drive, 4.5-hour drive from Memphis, and then reassemble the thing. A couple of the guys like Randy Grigg from Haunted Enterprises and stuff had said, because we got in Wednesday at like 4:00. And he was like, how are you going to get this booth done? And I don't know if any of you guys saw, but I literally left the trade show center at like 4:00 in the morning. Like literally 4:00 in the morning. I was like leaving the trade show center. It was like me and a cleaning lady. That was it. The entire building.
Well, it was an awesome booth for sure. I loved it.
I appreciate that.
It was cool to see something that you could walk through. Now, that was my only time at Transworld, so I don't know if that's been something that's, been done before, but to actually walk through it, it showed, that's how those lights would have looked. So you can't just put them on, like you said, Ned was just going to bring a table. And it's like, you can't showcase those lights on a table or even on a wall somewhere, and you have to be in the dark zone, so that's how did you lose all that weight?
Lots of Taco Bell.
There it is. Yes.
Lots of Taco Bell. That is not a lie. Taco Bell for the win. Listen,
That's how I keep my figure.
Taco Baco is the way to go.
It has nothing to do with the fact that you're working, 70 plus hours a week.
Well, that's true.
In 150
150 degrees. Nothing to do with
We
that.
both have
It's
high
all
metabolism for
Taco
sure.
Bell.
See, Taco Bell, though, they have that. I'm telling you, they have that for 3 tacos, 550 calories. It's aces.
It's
Am I
got
gonna
lettuce and cheese and
Vitamins?
and shell, onions. It's got
Oh my
good stuff.
god.
It's
My
got
wife
good
is
stuff.
My wife is a nurse, and she's looking at me, shaking her head right now. At you.
They were voted, they were proven to be the healthiest
Look.
fast food option.
I will
Several
die on
years
this
in a
hill
row.
with Troy. I will die on this hill with Troy.
Here's another thing. I have been through the last 3 years now, going to Transworld, going to Chicago, going to New England, Texas twice, all these other events with all these large amounts of people. Still haven't gotten COVID. Eat Taco Bell every day. Just say it.
That's the secret. The cure.
You
Oh,
won't
my
get COVID
goodness.
if you eat Taco Bell. Okay? Done.
Okay.
Okay.
You lose
So,
115 pounds, and you don't
Don't get COVID.
Taco
See?
Bell.
what? I don't know.
Yep.
I don't even have to make a VHS of that. It's just free information. You get
Look
it.
at
There's
that.
no
Words of wisdom by Troy. Thank you.
There's no CODs though. So you could obviously the majority of you guys are already friends with him. It says that we only have 420 mutual friends. My son would go, that's a funny number. But he's getting close to that 5,000 friend mark there. So he's gonna have to start knocking off some people. So.
No.
Mm.
So you can friend him on there, or you can also like his, Haunted Web Memphis. Oh, look at that! I didn't like that yet. Now I did.
Well, thank you.
I know, right? I always try to do that before I do the show to make sure that I've liked it.
So we're going to be doing a whole bunch of social media updates here coming soon. We haven't done any of them in a while, but that's something we're working on. Me and Jeremy actually just met 3 days ago with his wife, Crystal, so we're working on that. So there's a lot of stuff coming, a lot of changes.
Okay. So if you're in the Memphis area, you can definitely get your tickets and be able to go to Haunted Web, and you should. And don't go to any other haunted house. Go only to this one ever. Yeah. And also we didn't really get to talk about it that much, but if you need LEDs. Matt has a lot of things that you can use. You got the candles, you got the lanterns, you got the fixtures, you got floodlights, you got black lights, strobe lights, flame bulbs. He even has. I like the fact that he has not only the regular, but he's also got the blue.
But keep in mind too, with Ned's, if you're planning on placing an order, one of our priorities right now is to get all of our orders out for 2022. So Ned is ramping up all production right now. We're getting all of our current orders, and we just want people to get their orders in as soon as possible. As we get busier and busier, a lot of times people need a very quick turnaround. So if you're thinking you need something, please let us know now. That way we can start production on your order. This is our busiest time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right before haunt season. We're really getting slammed right now. So please contact us. Ned is always available on Facebook. If you message him, or at the bottom of the website, there's a little messenger icon. He will get immediately back to you if you have any questions. So he'll take
I can attest to that.
It's very, very, very good with following up with customer service.
Yep. And also, we haven't announced it yet, but it is kind of it's been in the works for a while now. But Ned's LEDs is now the official water bottle sponsor of the Terror Tours.
Woo woo!
So one side will say Terror Tours, the other side will say Ned's LEDs. Everybody on the tour will get a water bottle. So we haven't had the water bottles made yet, and so I wanted to wait till we had them made so I could show them, because otherwise I'm just putting out text or a mock-up, and I'm like, no, I want to show the actual bottles. So those are getting ordered, I believe, next week. So Ned's LEDs is a sponsor of the Terror Tours, and that is awesome. I've talked to Matt a bunch of times, and he is a fantastic guy. So,
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for having me.
We're done.
Yes, I think we are done.
I think we are.
Yes.
I knew this show would go long, but we kind of owe it to our fans because we've been gone for several weeks. And,
Our fans. Oh,
we had awesome Brick Thunder on, and then we had some scheduling and technical stuff and all that. So, but I do have to tell you guys that for the next 4 weeks, we have all 4 of our shows lined up, ready to go for the end of our season.
So before we say goodbye,
yes.
What's on next week?
That's what I'm getting to. You didn't let me.
Well, you didn't even let me close out here. You just kind of cut me off.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Whatever. Next week is Sean Herman from Wicker Manor, and it is a home hunt that is very much in the immersive style.
I can't wait.
They did a haunted mine, and you go through the entire thing from start to finish. It is you're in a mine. So it is very, very cool. Dirt all over the place and everything. It's super cool. So
sweet. Can't wait.
They'll be on next week, and it'll be awesome.
Well, thank you, Ethan, for coming on tonight. Thank you for taking an hour and a half out of your night in the 115-degree weather.
Right.
Really fun to listen to you talk about everything.
Right.
I really enjoyed my time. Seriously, thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it. I had a great time with you.
Thank you for everything you do. Great person, great haunter.
Yep.
Wish you the best of luck this season.
All right, if I don't see you before, I'll see you guys at Transworld.
Yes, indeed.
All right, take care.
Good night.
Everybody have a good night. We'll see you next Tuesday, 8 o'clock.